The night Daniel Harper accepted the job, rain poured so hard it blurred the streetlights into long, trembling streaks of gold, and his reflection in the bus window looked like a man already
How are
fading.
you feeling this
His
morning?
hands were
Much better,
cracked from
dear.
months
Thank
of
you.
I'm
temporary
glad.
labor.
You're so
His shoulders
kind.
bent under a
How's
weight
the homework
far
going?
heavier than
It's a little
exhaustion,
tricky.
and in his
You're
chest
doing
lived a
great. Keep
quiet
going.
fear that tomorrow might finally
I'm
be the
just
day
not
he
sure this
failed
is
his
safe.
son.
The data is
He did
solid.
not
It's
take
been
the
thoroughly
job because he
tested.
wanted
I hope
it.
you're right.
He took it because there was nothing else left to take. If you believe in kindness and second chances,
Dad,
take
look
a
at that
moment
big
right now
tree.
to like
It
this
is big. It's an
video,
oak tree.
comment,
Can we climb
share it
it?
with someone
Maybe
who
next
needs
time.
hope, and subscribe to the channel. Sometimes, the smallest support can change a life more than we realize. Daniel had not always lived like this. There was a time when mornings meant coffee in a warm kitchen, a steady paycheck, and plans that stretched comfortably into the future. That life ended the year his wife died, leaving him alone with a 6-year-old boy named Noah and a silence so loud it pressed against the walls. Grief did not arrive as a dramatic collapse, but as a slow erosion. Bills piled up, concentration slipped, his performance at work declined until sympathy turned into concern, and concern quietly became a termination letter. After that, everything became temporary. Temporary jobs, temporary apartments, temporary hope. The job nobody wanted was at a long-term care facility on the edge of town, an old brick building with peeling paint and a reputation for being forgotten. The hours were brutal, overnight shifts that bled into early mornings. The pay was low. The work was described in hushed tones by those who had quit after a week. Cleaning, maintenance, assisting residents who needed more patience than skill. Daniel read the listing 3 times, hoping there might be a mistake. There was not, but Noah's school shoes were worn thin, and the electricity notice sat on the table like a countdown. So Daniel showed up. The first night nearly broke him. The hall smelled of disinfectant and age, a mix of medicine and memories. The building creaked, as if breathing, and every door seemed to hide a lifetime of stories. Residents called out in confusion, fear, or loneliness. Some nights were quiet enough to make the ticking clock unbearable, others so chaotic he barely sat down. By dawn, his feet ached, his back screamed, and his heart felt strangely heavy in a way he could not explain. He came home to Noah asleep on the couch, school bags still on his back, and wondered how long he could keep this up. Days turned into weeks. Daniel learned the rhythm of the place, the way the building felt alive after midnight. He learned which lights flickered, which floorboards groaned, which residents needed an extra blanket even in summer. He learned patience in a way life had never taught him before. There was Mrs. Adler, who stared out the window every night as if waiting for someone who never came. There was Mr. Collins, who forgot where he was but remembered how to smile when someone remembered his name. Daniel did not speak much. He listened, he cleaned, he fixed what he could. And without realizing it, he began to matter. At home, Noah noticed the change before Daniel did. His father was tired, yes, but there was a steadiness returning to his movements. Dinner became simpler but more consistent. Homework happened at the table instead of the couch. On weekends, Daniel no longer collapsed into sleep all day. He took Noah to the park, even if only for an hour. They laughed again, softly at first, as if afraid laughter might break something fragile. Daniel still worried constantly, but the fear no longer owned him completely. One night, during a particularly difficult shift, Daniel found himself sitting beside a resident who would not stop crying. The staff was short, the phone rang endlessly, and exhaustion pressed against his skull. Everything in him wanted to rush, to move on to the next task. Instead, he sat. He did nothing special. He simply stayed. The crying slowed, then stopped. The resident fell asleep, hand still clutching Daniel's sleeve. In that moment, something shifted inside him. He realized that this job, the one nobody wanted, was asking him to be exactly what life had forced him to become: patient, present, unbreakable in quiet ways. Word spread slowly. Residents began asking for Daniel by name. Supervisors noticed fewer complaints during his shifts. Small changes appeared. Flowers placed neatly on tables. Hallways cleaner than expected. Broken things fixed without being asked. Daniel did not see it as extraordinary. He saw it as survival. But survival, done with care, has a way of turning into purpose. The real test came when the facility faced budget cuts. Rumors moved through the halls faster than any official announcement. Staff worried about layoffs. Overtime vanished. Daniel felt the familiar panic return, sharp and immediate. He lay awake during the day, staring at the ceiling, calculating numbers that never quite worked. He imagined telling Noah they would have to move again, change schools again, start over again. The thought hollowed him out. When the announcement finally came, it did not land the way he expected. The administration spoke of restructuring, of focusing on staff who made a measurable difference. Names were read. Some people cried. Some stared ahead, stunned. Daniel waited, heart pounding, certain his would be among those cut. It was not. Instead, he was offered more hours, a small raise, and a new role training incoming staff. The job nobody wanted had become the job they needed him to do. With stability came possibility. Daniel paid off the worst of the debt. He replaced Noah's shoes. He bought a second-hand bike and watched his son ride it with a pride that nearly brought him to his knees. At work, he began T.O. advocate quietly for residents, suggesting small improvements that cost little but meant everything. Extra time for meals, softer lighting at night, a bench in the courtyard where people could sit in the sun. None of it was dramatic. All of it mattered. Years passed in this way, not in leaps but in steady steps forward. Daniel aged differently now, not from stress but from responsibility carried with meaning. Noah grew taller, more confident, shaped by a father who showed him that dignity is not found in titles but in how you treat those who depend on you. On Daniel's rare days off, they volunteered together at the facility, pushing wheelchairs, listening to stories repeated 100 times. Noah learned empathy not from lectures, but from watching his father show up. The moment that changed everything came quietly. A regional inspection team arrived unannounced, walking the halls with clipboards and sharp eyes. Daniel went about his duties as usual, answering questions, fixing a loose rail, calming a resident who grew anxious under scrutiny. He did not perform. He simply was. Weeks later, the facility received recognition for exceptional care under limited resources. Funding increased. Jobs were saved. Daniel was promoted to a full-time coordinator role with benefits he had not had in nearly a decade. On the night he signed the papers, Daniel sat alone in the empty break room long after his shift ended. He thought about the man he had been when he first stepped into this yielding, soaked by rain, desperate and afraid. He thought about how close he had come to giving up, to seeing this job as a punishment rather than a lifeline. He understood now that sometimes the doors that look like last resorts are actually entrances to something better than we could have planned. Near the end of this story, if it is touching your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who might be struggling, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. Daniel never became rich. His life did not turn into a highlight reel of dramatic success. But it became full of mornings without fear, full of work that mattered, full of a son who grew up knowing that his father chose responsibility over resentment, service over pride. The job nobody wanted gave Daniel back his sense of worth, not because it was easy, but because it demanded the best of him when he thought he had nothing left. Just before this story ends, we have one special request. Please comment below and tell us what this story meant to you, or share a moment in your life when an unexpected path changed everything. In the end, Daniel understood something simple and powerful. Life does not always reward us for chasing greatness. Sometimes it rewards us for showing up where we are needed most, even when it hurts, even when no one is watching, and in those unseen places, quiet miracles are made.